Tax cuts are coming, and a pamphlet proves mightier than a gun lobby. Joining us on Columbus on the Record this week, Laura Bischoff, State House correspondent for the Dayton Daily News, Darrell Rowland, public affairs editor for the Columbus Dispatch, Ray Miller, publisher of the Columbus African American News Journal, and Whitney Smith, Republican strategist. By and large, the state budget process has been a fairly smooth one. Not a whole lot of drama. Of course, it helps that the state seems relatively flush with cash. It looks like there will be more money for a lot of things, including before and after school services, environmental protection programs. It looks like we'll get a tax cut. It's the size and shape of that cut that still needs some work. That's one thing House and Senate negotiators will work out in the coming week, whether the first $100,000 of business income or the first $250,000 of that income will be tax-free, small business tax income. Darrell Rowland, are these two sides set on their figure, or is there room for a compromise, the House and the Senate?
Got to be room for compromise. By law, they have to have a new budget within a week, basically. So, sure, all those stances that seem so hard and fast before get negotiated, and horse trading, and all the hallmarks of democracy. What's intriguing, at least to me, in this budget process, as you said, there was unanimity in the Senate, passed 33-0. The House was almost the same. So Republicans and Democrats within each chamber are very much in accord. But it's the two chambers where you find the strong differences. As you mentioned, the differences in who's going to get a tax cut, how big is it going to be, what schools are going to get more money, things of that nature. What are we going to do as far as when schools fail in relation to a state takeover, the state role at least. So there's many key differences. Yeah, and then now it's down to crunch time. Who's going to get what?
Laura, does Larry Householder, this House Speaker, who was very much opposed to this $250,000 limit or ceiling on the tax-free small business income, is he going to stick to his guns on that, or would he give on that for something else?
Well, I think that's probably the place where they have the biggest gap, because the House wants it at $150,000, the Senate wants to keep it at $250,000, and I think that's probably the biggest sticking point. They have other issues like the size of the income tax, which is pretty minor, 6.6% versus 8% across the board cut. Some other, changes on the motion picture tax credit. The big one is the business one, and I think that Larry Householder went with that one in part because he needed Democratic votes to pass the budget bill.
Whitney, should that first $250,000 be tax-free for a small business person?
I think it would probably depend on their idea of a small business. And I think that's kind of where you're seeing the give and take between the House and the Senate on that. I also think it's interesting the difference when the Senate took out $125 million that was proposed for low-income school kids, and then put in a provision to give part of that over $50 million, I believe, to more well-to-do school districts. So I think you're really seeing, like you mentioned, the give and take between the House and the Senate and just different priorities.
I love the bipartisanship, but I am concerned about people getting satisfied when you get a few things in the budget.
So what's going on here? Everyone gets a little bit?
It's almost like you get a few crumbs and you start celebrating, too much bipartisanship, as opposed to keeping the fight up to make sure that you're serving the constituency that you're elected to serve.
So, in particular, do you think these tax cuts are too generous?
Well, on the tax cuts, they're not generous enough for those at the lower end of the economic strain of things, that's for sure. And I know we're talking about business in large measure, but if you're going to be doing tax breaks, it's got to be more than just the rhetoric of it and the politics of it. You've got to make sure that it's something real for the people. Just because you're doing some trade-offs on some policy issues,
they're eliminating taxes for the lowest, under $23,000 a year.
Yeah, but what that amounts to at the end of the year for you in your paycheck is what I'm talking about. If it's going to be $40, $100, $150, or something like that you gain, that's not sufficient.
It's interesting, the arguments that Ray is making, and the Democrats have made for years. For the first time, at least in the House, Republicans, including the Speaker, joined in on many of those arguments. This so-called pass-through tax cut, $1.2 billion a year. Even many Republicans are starting to say, where are the jobs? That whole thing was passed several years ago. We need to create more jobs. 1.2 billion a year, do the math over however many years, what that adds up to. Do we have that return in jobs from these small businesses? Larry Householder, several Republicans in that chamber say no.
The school funding, Laura, what Whitney mentioned was it was money for wraparound services. The House gave more than the governor proposed, but the Senate rolled it back and split it between basically scholarships for private schools, vouchers, and money for fast-growing school districts, which can be more affluent districts.
Absolutely, and I think that is a fairly substantial sticking point. These wraparound services are things like school counselors, mental health counseling, things to kind of support the social, emotional well-being of the child. And the idea was if the state were to pay more for those services, then it would free up more money for local money to go into the classrooms. I think that there's oftentimes, though, there are these really fast-growing school districts like Olentangy where they are just busting out at the seams, and they're constantly asking for some sort of relief.
Whitney, do you think that Olentangy, Groveport, Madison school districts that, as a percentage-wise, are seeing a large percentage, but dollar-wise, perhaps there's not as much of a increase, but they're growing fast. They need money to keep up. The state formula is not keeping up. Shouldn't those school districts be helped out?
I think when we look at the failing school districts in our state, we know it's a problem, and we know school funding has been a problem, and I don't think that this budget addresses that and fixes that at all. And if anything, I feel like the Senate's version of taking out the $125 million of funding actually worsens the problem.
Let me ask an odd question. At any chance Mike DeWine line item vetoes any of these big controversies, or can he even line item veto a tax cut if it's going to upset the whole apple cart?
I would think not. I can't see him doing a line item veto because he still has some things that he'd like to get done. One of the issues that hopefully we'll talk about in terms of the pollution in Lake Erie. When you're going in bargaining, it's hard to come in thinking about a line item veto.
I don't doubt that he's going to have some line item vetoes, but I think they'll be somewhat minor. The budget bill is more than 3,000 pages. Yeah. So tucked within there could be some kind of odd little things that the administration doesn't agree with. But largely, they're giving the governor what he asked for, which is more money for kids who are vulnerable, families, et cetera. That there's money for infant mortality, foster care, child protective services, lead poisoning, kinship care. I mean, it goes on and on.
Yeah. All right. The move to eliminate special permits to carry a hidden gun in Ohio has hit a last-minute snag. The problem is a pamphlet. The measure would remove the requirement that legal gun owners have a special permit to carry a concealed weapon, and it would eliminate the required 8 hours of training for hidden guns. But as it was being passed out of committee, lawmakers added a requirement that gun dealers hand out a pamphlet to every gun purchaser. The pamphlet would include safety tips and key parts of Ohio's gun laws. Some gun rights advocates don't like that idea because the brochure tells gun owners they still have a duty to retreat from a violent attacker, which is state law. They have convinced Larry Householder to get involved. Laura Bischoff, what is going on? This seems like a pamphlet. What's so controversial about a pamphlet?
I'm not sure. It was this kerfuffle that happened at the last second. John Becker told me earlier in the day that he was going to have a vote on the bill. And then later in the afternoon, this pamphlet blow-up happened and the vote was canceled. I think the bill was already kind of on the back burner, though, because the Speaker wants to move it out of the House Federalism Committee and then have some more hearings in the Criminal Justice Committee. And it's not likely to get a floor vote until sometime in the fall.
Okay.
So it was already kind of...
But the pamphlet was the spark here. Larry Householder wrote a letter on his Facebook page, saying that this will get gun owners killed because they're telling them they have a duty.
Well, he was quoting
he was quoting gun rights.
Quoting the Ohio gun owners, which had alerted members in days leading up to the hearing that there was this amendment coming. So they had a heads up that this amendment was coming to require the brochure. It is their point of view that if you remind people of even accurately what Ohio law is, that there is this duty to retreat if reasonably possible. Yeah. that, as they put it, that will get people killed. Speaker Householder seized on that and said, hold up, we've got a gun rights group saying this dire thing will happen. Don't know if it's true or not, but until we find out, let's do it. And as Laura said, he switched committees. You've got lawyers on the other committee with so many legal entanglements here.
Yeah.
And frankly, it does maybe slow us down, this train down a little bit.
You know, Kyle Kaler said he wanted to have the information provided to gun owners.
Here's the rep who proposed the pamphlet.
Right, he's from a Republican from Springfield, and he said, you know, we want people to be law-abiding, and so it makes sense to provide the law to
No
them.
training, have a pamphlet. Does that make sense, Whitney?
It doesn't make any sense to me as someone who's taken the training for concealed carry. The training is very minimum at best of what currently we have. So the fact that we would be taking away the training and background checks is a bit concerning. And
Do they tell you in the training you have a duty to retreat?
Yes, they do. They go over the law in the training and along with basic gun safety. And also, I think Kaler mentioned that he thought that removing the training and removing the background checks would actually help protect women in Ohio, which is really ironic considering that the majority of women murdered in Ohio are due to gun violence. And national organizations have cited that background checks and gun training actually help protect women. So if anything, I don't think we should be rolling back those regulations, and it's a little scary.
Ray, there hasn't been, I cannot recall, since the concealed carry went into effect many years ago, where somebody carrying a concealed weapon killed somebody or killed a police officer. It really has not been, for all the predictions, it really has not been that big a deal on the ground.
Yeah, it's really two different discussions that takes place around guns. One sort of like, it's my right, my constitutional right to have a gun, and then you've got hunters that fall in. In most of the urban districts, I'd say the vast majority of all urban districts across the state, it's killing people with guns as opposed to killing squirrels, et cetera, and pheasants and that kind of thing. So, you know, it's two very distinctly different conversations with two differently distinct groups of people having those conversations. So in the urban communities, the real issue is how do we stop people from murdering individuals in the streets?
On a side note, the gun safety, gun control ballot issue has been derailed for a moment. Attorney General Dave Yost said the language was not clear enough, was untrue. They sent it back to the advocates. Now they have to collect signatures again and change the language.
And they say that they'll be back on the street to get that 1,000 signatures and then return to the AG with another version.
Was this legit, or was Dave Yost being picky?
Well, he made the point that it just wasn't complete enough in part. You know, the proposal does have several exceptions. He wants that listed in the actual language. Now, when these petition forms, when they're presumably approved finally, you may have language that takes up this much of the page at the top before you can put your name in if you so desire. I don't know. But it's not being quibbled with by the group. And again, it's minimal signature this time, just 1,000. They get that passed, then they go for the, many more than that.
All right, Lake Erie pollution, reducing pollution on the lake seems to be a focus of state lawmakers. This week, Governor DeWine recommitted to reducing phosphorus by 40% by 2025. He joins other leaders from U.S. states and Canadian provinces. Backing up his commitment, DeWine wants to spend $900 million on improving water quality. The House and Senate also want to boost anti-pollution programs, but they have different plans. Ray Miller, what is the best solution to the algae blooms on Lake Erie? Is it spending more money or tightening regulations on farmers?
Both.
Which would be more effective?
Yeah, I think it's both. I don't think the governor's going to get $900 million. That's for sure to do it. So, but he's going to get something, and it may be somewhere close to $90 million in a different form with a trust fund. Yep. But we've come so far. You remember Dennis Kucinich and the lake being on fire and all of that. It wasn't him that you could totally blame, but it was under his leadership there in Cuyahoga County. And so much progress has been made in cleaning up Lake Erie and all of the waterlands, the streams, et cetera, throughout the state. And so it makes a lot of sense for the state of Ohio to invest in that kind of environmental cleanup.
But yet Toledo had its water system shut down for what, 4 or 5 days, and
Right.
had to
Yeah.
hand out bottled water just a couple of years ago.
Right, that was a big mess.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the harmful algae blooms are a chronic problem, and part of it is because Lake Erie is shallow, particularly in the Western Basin, and it's warmer. There's discharges coming down from Detroit, but mostly it's the farm runoff.
Yeah.
It's manure and it's fertilizer that's applied, and it goes into the watershed and it flows out.
So how does this money help with that problem? Education, buying land, what is it? I know there's some watershed. They want to increase watershed to filter some of the nutrients out is one of the proposals, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's, frankly, I don't know the details of exactly what they would do, and I don't know if they do or not. But yeah, as you say, it's a multi-pronged approach. It'll be curious to see. It's not as big as the agriculture runoff in that huge Maumee River watershed up there with one of Ohio's best agriculture areas. But do we go after municipal treatment plants too? That sometimes, when it rains a lot, not that that's real hypothetical here lately in Ohio, but that pollution doesn't get treated; it just runs straight through without being treated. That will feed your algae, just like fertilizer runoff will.
Is it regulation or spending on treatment plants and spending government money? $900 million over 10 years is what the governor wants. The House is more, they want to borrow the money and fund it a little differently. What's the solution in your mind?
I'd like to see regulation and a commitment between all of the parties involved, all the states, and I believe Canada as well, to make a commitment that has some teeth. So right now they have a commitment to reduce the phosphorus by 40% by 2025. And right now, everything that I've read on it says that they've also proposed this in 2015, and there's been no clear way to actually see if we're doing that. So I think the first step would say, well, are we even doing it now? What are we doing? And how can we all work together to do it?
I mean, some of it may come down to giving loans or grants to farmers with concentrated animal feeding operations to better manage their manure so that it can be spread, when conditions are ideal.
From your experience, how, as a former state legislator, how hard is it to get things like that passed that, regulate farmers, which, they argue, look, we're on small margins, we're trying to, feed the world, albeit at a profit, but they're trying to feed the world. How hard is it to get regulation on farmers through the legislature?
Well, it's all about trade-offs, and so there may be something that you can offer farmers that's on their agenda that balances out any new regulations that they might have or expenditures that they may have that comes out of their own profits.
Incentives more than sticks, or carrots more than sticks, I should say, anyway. The public funding price tag for the new Columbus Crew Stadium in downtown is growing. This week, the city released a draft agreement with the Major League Soccer team's owners. The stadium is planned for land just west of Huntington Park in downtown Columbus. The Crew's owners would pay for the stadium, but the city, state, and Franklin County would pay to fix up the area around it. The latest plan, that cost has risen by $25 million to a total of $140 million. Whitney Smith, it's not a huge cost increase, but a cost increase. Is that a wise use of public money?
Oh, you're going to get me in trouble with this one. My husband played professional soccer in the UK, and we are huge soccer fans. And I think, like most people in Columbus, we'd love to see the Crew stick around. But when I look at $140 million worth of investment in this, I also have to look at other neighborhoods that need basic services, fire and safety equipment. And when I look at this, I just wonder if it is the best investment, the return on the investment, because $140 million is a lot for this. And we have already invested a lot into our other professional sports team. So I think most people in Columbus do want to see us maintain the Crew, and I think this allows for us to keep them for 30 more years. Yep. But you also have to look at the payoff.
So
it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for a stadium, and they didn't, the attendance for Crew games, they didn't fill the other stadium. So what will make, if you build it, will they come?
It's going to happen.
You think it's going to happen?
Oh, it's going to happen. It's
They don't
gonna-
own the
it's-
land yet.
Yeah,
Nationwide hasn't sold them the land yet.
It's going to happen. It's going to be built. And I think, once again, it's like, what can I get out of it? If you're in a leadership position, it's like, what do I get out of this? This might be where the mass transit, the public transit issue comes in. Says, well, maybe we should make transit totally free for all of the citizens. That political guy's got to have something that comes to the table to balance this thing out. But it's going to happen.
Darrell, over and over again, Columbus voters, not in recent years, but when they were voting on it in the 90s, basically were saying no taxpayer money for stadiums. And that was 20 years ago. Do you think that sentiment still is there, or is the public saying, you know what, to have these teams now, every city has to pay, so we have to pay? Where do you think the public?
Well, I think both sentiments are, but I think the former sentiment is there as well. I mean, you look at all the wrestling we went through with Nationwide Arena to get that built. In theory, with all private money, the arena itself, not the site prep and all that. And good grief, even the fight over the ticket tax, there was philosophical about, okay, what about all that? On the other hand, the proponents are pointing to, this is just another economic development project. If this wasn't a stadium, if this was a big plant or something, there wouldn't be near the hue and cry.
Yeah. All right, there is another plan to boost mass transit in Columbus. A group called Transit Columbus wants Central Ohio to build at least 2 high-capacity mass transit lines. It suggests light rail or a bus rapid transit on a dedicated lane, a lane just for buses. To pay for it, the group wants to ask Franklin County voters to increase the sales tax. COTA seems uninterested, as they were for developer Bob Weiler's proposal for free COTA bus rides for everyone. Ray Miller, should we pay taxes for light rail, or at least that dedicated rapid transit bus line? Should we be paying more taxes to fund those?
No, I don't think so. And I think the priority should be, at this point, making public transit free to all of the residents in Columbus and Central Ohio.
So how do we pay for that then?
Weiler proposed just a 0.1% increase in the sales tax.
It's a slight tax increase then.
Yeah, and sales tax is a regressive tax, but it's a very, very minor increase. I mean, not that substantial. So I think it's a good solution that he's come forth with. You just have to get people behind you. And I think, once again, this is the time. You've got some folks asking for something over here, and you come with your proposal at this point.
Whitney, mass transit light rail has never taken off the ground here. It seems to be a visceral opposition to anything on a rail in Ohio for the most part. Is the time past, or is it time to invest in that?
I think at the very least, we need the dedicated bus lane. Columbus is growing, it's booming. We see that with the housing shortage currently. And I also think it's a safety issue for families. If we don't have access to transportation, it creates additional issues of food deserts, and I think it also denies access to healthcare facilities. So this could also have a lot of other side effects, which could be really beneficial to a lot of people in Columbus. And I think it would definitely be worth it. It would be interesting to see, though, if this does get on the ballot as a ballot initiative, how voters turn out to support it or not.
A dedicated bus line is kind of a cool idea, and it's not permanent, so you don't have to build tracks. You just have a lane where the buses can go and not get caught behind, another car or a red light. It just zooms through. It seems like a decent compromise.
Well, they do. I mean, they do have the dedicated bus lanes through downtown,
Yeah.
like up High Street past the State House and up through the convention center. I think it helps a little bit with the traffic congestion, but
This would be like all the way up Cleveland Avenue.
straight up.
Yeah,
Right.
it'd be
Just in terms of costs, you can't leave that out. And you got to look at the population in terms of who's being served, who's riding the buses, right? 19 million people. I bet you just, in terms of the proportion racially and economically, it's just so imbalanced, when you look at the population overall within the city. And so you're already spending $2 to jump on the bus, $62 for your pass.
Yep.
You've got some free buses running downtown right now, most of the time in the evening,
Circulating,
empty,
yeah.
quite frankly. If you go down to the brewery district and so forth, the bus is empty all day long, all day and well into the evening. And so poor people who are riding these buses, right, they're looking at the cost coming out of their pocket. You propose something free to them? Yeah, now we can balance it out with some other things that the broader community might have an interest in.
All right.
But right now, the riders are being screwed.
Let's get to our final off-the-record parting shots. Whitney, you're up first.
My final thought would be anyone in Central Ohio to check out the women's rally. That's at 11 o'clock on Saturday tomorrow morning.
All right. If you're watching on Sunday, well,
You missed it.
Ray.
I think we really should celebrate. There's a doctor at Ohio State, Dr. Quinn Capers. He's the associate director of the medical school. U.S. News and World Report has The Ohio State University's medical school ranked second in the nation in terms of the increase of African Americans in the medical school. He has done what folks have not been able to do in the undergraduate school in universities throughout America. So parting shot, let's make sure that we support him so that next year we're #1 in the nation with regard to that issue.
Daryl.
Mike, I just want to say thanks to everyone who supported the Dispatch and who supported the family of Jim Siegel. You had a little tribute last week, so thank you for that. State House atrium was packed, standing room only, hundreds of people came in during the ceremony this week. So I just want to say, thanks to everyone who stepped forward and made memorial contributions and everything. It's really appreciated.
Laura.
I'll predict that criminal justice reform will be a centerpiece in the legislature this session. We've already seen the House Bill 1, a change in treatment in lieu of conviction, to expand that and expand sealing of records. Senate Bill 3 has some similar ideas, so I think we might see some movement on that front.
It was an incredible sight at the State House, an honor for famous people like John Glenn and Jim Rhodes. Went to an understated great reporter from the Dispatch, and it brought everyone together. It was nice to see. That is Columbus on the Record for this week. Check us out online, Facebook, Twitter, and our website, WOSU.org. For our panel, for our crew, I'm Mike Thompson. Have a good week.